Okay, hey everybody, how you doing? Thank you for joining us again on Monday night here in the Michael's Community Classroom for another plaid paint night, or let's paint live, whatever we want to call it. But whatever we want to call it, we've got a treat tonight because we've got Andy Jones teaching. And if you've ever taken a class from Andy Jones, you know what a treat that is. And you are going to be absolutely guaranteed to learn something. That's one thing I always say when I'm setting up these classes for Andy is you will leave learning something new for sure. And that's why we're here, I guess. So he is going to be teaching Very Perry Floral this evening. At least that was the original name. There's probably a different name for it that you signed up for. But anyway, it's going to be fun. It's a purple flower. You guys will see. Oh yes, one thing that we always like to tell everybody, if you've done these classes before, you know that they're being recorded and you know that you can always access these after the fact. So if you find that the pace is a little bit fast for you and you just want to watch and relax tonight and then go back and paint along with the recording, you can certainly do that. If you do want to paint along, that's fine, but just keep in mind that we do have to try and get this done sometime in around an hour time frame. So we kind of have to keep moving at times. And like I said, you may find the pace a little quick, but always just go and check out the recording. And I can see where Jimena has already put that link in there. So I'm here to answer questions in the chat and also pass them along to Andy. So without further ado, I will pass it over to you, good sir, Andy.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, John, for that lovely introduction. I appreciate that. And I do hope that everyone learned something tonight. I'm even more hopeful that it's something that you want to learn. That's always a better thing. But we are painting a Very Perry Floral tonight. And if you're wondering why it's got that strange name to it, kind of in here is a color that is called Very Perry. And Very Perry is the Pantone Color of the Year 2022. Pantone is a global color bank. They kind of are the keepers of the world's colors, and they put out color palettes and things like that that help everything from automobile manufacturers pick out what color cars they're going to release, to people who make toasters, and fashion designers what color clothes you're going to be seeing. So this kind of purpley color in there is going to be the color of 2022. It'll start to bubble up in things throughout the year, and you'll notice that. A couple of things before we get started. I want to let you know that we are going to be painting at a brisk pace, so don't spend your time in the chat telling me to slow down, because we won't. That just saves you keystrokes. As John said, if the pace gets a little quick, stop painting, don't be frustrated, wait for the class to show up on the Michael's website or their YouTube channel and follow along. Next rule of thumb that I need to get across to you is that you get what you get and you don't pitch a fit. This is a painting class. We're trying to learn something new. If it turns out beautifully, so much the better. If it's not quite what you want, that's okay too. The worst thing that can happen is that you turn out a painting that you're not happy with and you get to paint another one. So overall, that's not a bad thing to have happen. All right, now, as we get ready to dive into this, we're going to paint the entire background, then we're going to start to develop the vase, and then finally we're going to put the flowers in the vase. And you were given a list of colors. Some of you will have those colors, some of you won't. If you don't have those colors, don't worry about it, because I'm probably not using those colors tonight, and we will give you substitute colors. We'll tell you what kind of things to mix together to get the colors in order to paint this. But this painting is primarily purple and blue. It does have some green in it. So this color scheme is what would be called a false pair, which doesn't mean, it means that it's not quite complementary colors, but they are kind of adjacent to being complementary colors, the purple and the green. Everything's going to work well together, and you're going to end up with a lovely painting, no matter what blues or what purples you use tonight. So this is a very soft floral painting, very easy to do, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So we are going to put some colors out on our palette. I'm going to put out some white. And go ahead and put a good squirt of paint out, because there's no sense and not having enough paint on your palette. And then I would put out a couple of colors of kind of tropical blues if you have them. It does not matter what the colors are. If you only have the ultramarine blue, put it out, mix it with some, a little yellow into that and some white to make a teal color. But I'm just putting out three values of an aqua or a teal color out. And that's going to get me started pretty well. And I'm going to put out a couple of purple colors. And it does not matter what purples you have or what purples you use. Just squirt a couple of purples out, because we're going to be mixing all of these colors.
So Andy, someone was asking about if they have a slightly larger canvas. I'm assuming that you can just scale this up, right? As you go?
You can scale this up, but I can also tell you that when you scale it up, it's not going to be as charming as you see it here in this size. The reason that I say that is we're not doing much painting. There's not much to these flowers. There's definitely not much to the leaves, and the vase is very simple. So the larger you scale this up, you've got more area to cover and not much painting to put in that area. So this size is a great size for it. You could do probably 10 by 10 without getting into much trouble, but just start going 12 by 12 and larger, and then it's really not going to be as charming as it is this size. All right, so let's get a big paintbrush in our hands. And what we're going to do is we are going to make vertical pulls, vertical strokes across our canvas. And we're going to move down and we're going to make just a bunch of vertical marks all the way across our canvas and then all the way down. And that's how we're going to paint in the background. So I'm holding my brush by putting the tip of the handle in the palm of my hand and then grasping the brush. And that's as far back as I can hold this brush. So I'm going to pick up some titanium white on my brush. And I want to be sure to pick up a good amount of paint. And I'm going to start right in the center of the canvas and across the top, just pull some of this white on. Now it's not showing up much there, but it will as soon as I pick up some of this light aqua color and start to make some vertical strokes with this. And do you see that it is getting lighter as it moves across? Because that's where I started with my titanium white. Pick up some more. We'll start over here at this edge and we'll pull this in. And it's very easy to see that we have some kind of cool color mixing already happening on the canvas. So
sorry,
I'm
Andy,
painting.
what was that second color? I'm just trying to put it in the chat here and
let me see. It could be
you.
ocean view. I think ocean view it could be, but you could just make any kind of aqua color is going to be fine.
Okay.
All right. So now I'm going to pick up this darker color, which could be Calypso Sky.
All right.
And I'm just moving this across. I've not cleaned my brush out and I've not rinsed it out. What I am going to do now is wipe the brush on my blue shop towel, and we're going to come back and using less pressure on the brush, I'm going to kind of soften these colors together a little bit. Still just making these vertical pulls, and then I'm reaching up to the top of the canvas and just softening some of this down a little bit. If you can see some brush marks in the background, that's okay. Nothing to fret about. We want some variation in this, and I've got, the worst thing that can happen is I've got a little piece of dog hair in my canvas. So I'm going to set the brush on the angle and pluck that dog hair out of there. And many of you have dogs and cats and you understand what that's like, having their beautiful fur join you in everything you do. All right, so I'm going to pick up some more of this kind of medium teal color, and I'm going to put some of that on, going right across the top of the vase. And I'll pick up some of this darker teal color, which could be, let's see, Castaway, or it could be Aqua. Either one of those will work, no problem. Or a mixture of anything that you have that's similar. Now, when I start to come onto the vase, I'm going to stop right at the edge of the vase because I want to remember where the edge of my vase is. All right, we're ready to shift into purple mode. So you can pick up any one of the purple colors that you might have put out on your palette. And I'm lightening that with a little bit of white. And it does not matter what purple it is, because we're going to start applying that over that teal color. And we're creating a violet color on our canvas now. And I'm going to wipe my brush, and we're going to soften that in by making more of these beautiful vertical strokes. And now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to pick up some white and start back down. Pick up some more purple. And you can see that we're just getting darker as we're going down the canvas. Always making these vertical strokes.
Andy,
Yes.
should you use an extender to slow down drying time for the background?
No, I'm moving pretty quickly, but my paint is even up here is still quite wet. So you don't need an extender for this.
Okay.
Most of the time, if people put an extender on it, something like the FolkArt blending gel, they will put too much on there and their painting will become very, very slippery and they won't be able to control it. So better not to have it than to put too much on. All right, now I'm going to take a dark purple, and you could use any purple. If yours isn't very dark, add a little bit of black to it just to make it super dark. And I'm turning this because I want to follow the edge of my straight base straight down to the bottom of the canvas. I'm going to turn it this way and do the same thing on this edge, following the edge of my vase straight down the canvas. And then we're just going to darken this whole area right underneath our vase with this dark purple.
We were referred to as the A team just now, you and I and Jimena.
Okay,
Well, you know,
you and Jimena.
that's it.
Yeah, I'm not part of that. Okay.
No, I think you're part of it. I think you're the main part of it.
I don't know about that.
Well,
I guess it's all relative, I'm sure. All right, now I'm going to wipe my brush out even more. I really want to kind of clean the color out of this brush, but don't put it in water. Water's not your friend. And where I've got kind of a little bit of a rough transition, I will come back and I'll just begin to gently blend this a little bit. If I need to pick up some of these other colors, I can certainly do that and soften it in.
Anusha is joining us all the way from India. Dang. I can't even imagine
Welcome.
what time it is in India, but it seems like it's got to be late or early or something.
We have
It's not 8 o'clock at night. I know that.
we have a woman who joins us pretty regularly from Australia, and she is always, she's 24 hours difference. So if our class is at noon here, it's midnight the next morning where she is.
Well, then,
I don't know that I
or
could,
12 hours difference, not 24.
well, it's too many hours difference for me. I can't imagine
It's
being up or
6:30 in the
functioning.
morning in India. She's an early riser for these.
Okay, well, she's getting a jump start on her day. All right, so I'm just softening this a little bit, not worrying if there's some brush marks showing, because down here we're going to cover up some of that. All right, so this is our background. So I'm going to dry this now because I don't want it in my way. This is background and that's where it's going to stay.
I can see lots of folks painting along as I'm looking in the gallery here. So it's always good to see.
Yeah, I'm going to give everybody just a couple of minutes to catch up with this. So keep working on your background. And the background is going to look very different once we get our flowers and foliage in there. So don't think this is the way it's going to end up looking. I can give you all a little bit of a close-up view. So this is certainly a fun way to spend a Monday evening with you all.
It is indeed. I mean, once you've solved the Wordle for today, then what are you supposed to do with the rest of the night?
You know, I don't even know what that is, and I'm 100% sure I don't want to get involved in it.
Well, they only release one a day, which is good because otherwise people would be like spending all their time on it.
It seems like that they've already had to suspend someone's Twitter account because they were like leaking the next day's answer.
Oh yeah, can't be doing that. You cannot be leaking the Wordle.
All I know is it's some yellow, green, and white squares.
Geo did the Wordle in 2 today. Today was a hard one. You must have had a really good start. All right, we should not talk about Wordle. That's not. We should talk about painting. Back to painting.
Well, we are going to talk about painting, but if that's the Geo that I know, he is an expert game player, plays a lot of games. So it wouldn't surprise me that he would be good at that. Okay, I'm going to shift now to a smaller brush, and this I'm going to use the number 12 flat here. So I'm going to take my dark purple, and I think I'm even going to put some black out on my palette because I want this to be super, super dark. So I've got a dark purple and we're adding a little black to it, making it super dark. And I'm going to go right underneath the bottom edge of the vase. So I think you all can see that we've got some super dark purple going under there.
Andy, what brush size are you using again?
This is a number 12 flat.
Okay, number 12 flat. And then somebody was asking, that little towel that he's using is a blue shop towel, which is just basically like a super duper paper towel. It's just hardier.
It is a super duper paper towel that doesn't shed and it doesn't lint off or peel off on anything. All right, so I'm taking this purple color, this super dark purple color, and I'm sweeping it down from right underneath the vase down toward the bottom of the canvas, just making this area under the vase very, very nice and dark. So touch the brush right underneath the vase and then sweep it down, keeping your strokes vertical. And you don't need it to be solid, but you want it to be very dark. So there we go. That's kind of like the little mess I've got going on there. But I know at the end of class, I'm going to put some stuff over that so it's not going to be as noticeable as it is right now. All right, so get that super dark color going underneath your vase. Give you a minute to do that, and then we're going to start painting our vase.
Andy, what size canvas do you start with? Is it an 8x8?
This is an 8x8.
Okay. What did he use to dry? Oh, so for those of you who don't know, you can dry either with a hair dryer or you can use a heat gun. But of course, if you're going to use a heat gun, you want to make sure that you don't get it too close and don't want to linger too long because it'll totally bubble up your paint. But you can do, you definitely can do hair dryer or heat gun for either,
Yes.
for that.
I love a heat gun because it does it super, super fast, but you do have to be careful that you don't scorch your painting. All right, we are
Or
ready
set
to move
anything on
on.
fire, which you don't want
Or
to do either.
yeah. Somebody wants to know how to avoid brush strokes in the background. I don't know why you want to do that. There are plenty of brush strokes in this background. They're lovely. You want to see them. No, I don't gesso the canvas.
No, didn't gesso. Okay.
No, the canvases come primed with a white acrylic primer on them, and they are ready to paint. No need to do someone's job again. All right, so I'm going to come on the right side of my vase, and we are going to come right up from where we have that dark edge on the bottom below our vase. We're going to continue that dark right up along the left side of the vase. We want to keep that side of the vase straight and dark. So now I'm just painting in a big stripe of dark purple, and I'm going to come across the bottom with more of that dark purple. And I will create a little bit of a arched area using my purple. All right, now you know that this is not as dark as underneath our vase because this is just dark purple. This is dark purple plus black. All right, I'm going to wipe my brush out, and hopefully my paint is still going to be damp enough for me to take the corner of my brush and just scrub a little bit of light area there inside the vase. Okay, pretty simple. We're not doing any tough painting, keeping it light and breezy, everybody. I will take a little bit of my dark purple, and now I'm going to just kind of scrub that across the vase, making the inside of my vase kind of a light purple.
Speaking of
Something
the
like
18,
that.
Chris Williams is in the house. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Chris. Chris is tuning in to make sure that I'm doing a good job tonight.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now I'm going to take some of my darker teal color, and I'm going to do the right or light side of my vase. And wipe some of that color off my brush, and then here's something I want you all to make sure to do. All right, right down here, where the edge of the vase meets the bottom curve of the vase, we are putting a little light line of aqua across there. All right, make sure that you connect the side of the vase with the bottom edge of the vase right there in that little corner.
Hey, you guys, for several of you are having a little trouble. You can totally move the chat window, by the way. I don't know if you're ready, if you're on phone or tablet or what have you, but if you're on your computer, you can just grab it by the top and slide it to the side, or you can expand it or shrink it.
Okay, now everybody saw that connection there from the bottom of the vase to the left side of the vase. And I'm going to set my brush down in that general area, and I'm going to pull up a couple of times across the front of the vase, setting the brush down and wisping up. All right, do you see how we've broken that line at the back? So we've come across it right here, and we've come across it right there. And we're going to set the brush right down there at the edge and pull up.
Okay, yeah, just because that little brush stroke was was off camera when you did it the first time, so he'll do it again. You guys can see the pulling up
Okay.
like you just did.
Here we go. We're going to set the brush down right at the edge of the vase and pull up. We're going to set the brush down at the corner right there and we're going to pull up. What we're really concerned about is losing this whole business that's going on inside the vase there. I don't want to pay attention to that. I want it just to go away and not be a problem for me.
Okay.
Which is what I like to do with anything that's going to be a problem. I just want it to go away. All right, so I'm going to take some aqua or teal color, whatever, and we're going to start over here on the left-hand edge of the vase, and I'm going to simply scrub-a-dub-dub some of this back across the vase. And by scrubbing a little bit of this color across, we are creating, we're basically kind of filling in the vase with a very small amount of color. So the interior of our vase kind of looks like that right now. Nothing to write home about, but we've got color in there. Right, so I'm going to give you another minute to do that. And we're not done. We're going to do some more fun stuff to that. But the thing about painting a glass vase, and here's what I want you to hear and understand, is we are doing anything except trying to paint a vase. We've painted a shadow underneath the vase. We've painted the right side of the vase. We've given it a little bottom. We've given it some color on the left side, and we've scrubbed some color across to fill it in, but we're not painting the whole vase at once. We're giving it little bits and pieces, and that's really all we want to do at this point. Is we're going to start to put some fun stuff in there in just a minute. I'm going to take some of this kind of medium aqua color on my brush. And I'm going to brighten up this little stroke that we put on. I'm trying to, let me get myself situated here so we can do this where everybody can see. Setting the brush at the bottom of the vase, right along the left-hand edge. I'm going to set my brush down and I'm going to tickle some of that light blue color up. Okay, can you see how that's lighter right there? Okay, now I'm going to take some of the same color on my brush and I'm going to come over here kind of almost in the center, but not quite. And I'm going to set that brush down the bottom edge of the vase and I'm going to wisp that up so that it creates a highlight that comes up and across what was the bottom backside line of the vase back there. Let you get caught up to that, and then we're going to put on some other purple colors in our vase. Just give you another second or two to do that, because we still have leaves and flowers to paint and then fun stuff to put on. We still have enough time. I know we're painting quickly, but it's easy painting. And again, if you want to paint in a relaxed state of mind, you can wait and always watch the replay of this. All right, so I'm going to pick up this color purple here, which I am guessing might be eggplant or any purple. It doesn't matter. If I've got only this dark purple, could add a touch of white to it. But over here, kind of not quite to the edge, I'm going to sweep on a little bit of this color. And I'll pick up some of this color purple too. And I'll come on and just make a stroke of this starting at the bottom of the vase and let that sweep up and come across the back side. Or it's not well, it is the back side of the vase, but our vase has the front part that we have here, that little aqua line. It's right down here. Okay, that aqua line is the front part of the vase. And then this darkness that we see back there is the back side of the vase. Okay, did we just,
Oh, did the palette cam die?
I think yes, because it's not plugged into anything.
Oh, for the love of Pete. Hang on for a
I know.
minute. Let me get in there.
All right.
We talked
so,
about that too, didn't we? We never plugged
yes,
that
we
sucker
did,
in.
because you were going to plug it in so we had juice.
Right, hold on.
So anyway, we apologize to
People need
everyone.
a chance to catch up, so this will be a good chance.
Yes, the A team, we were, I'm going to use a sports analogy here and shouldn't. We were pinch hitting for the tech guys who usually set us up tonight, and we didn't.
The A team is scoring about a B- at the moment.
We were left to our own devices. We didn't have adult supervision.
No, we did not.
So, apologies to everybody for that. So this is part of the fun of doing a live class, because it's not really messing anyone up.
All right.
They can just barely see your arm, John, so you're in good shape.
Okay. But I don't know that. Did it come?
Yes,
There
it's back on.
Back.
All right, so where you stand, the cord has to come in.
Yeah.
Out, there you go. Okay. And just hang it up over that little thing there, will be fine. So we hope that it doesn't pull out or anything. So, okay, we're back in business. So thank you, John. Well,
No, I'm just gonna try and close that for you. There we go.
Okay, so we are back in business. Thank you, John.
And this one
Whew.
is
We're
plugged in.
yeah, we're all excited that we are cooking with gas one more time. All right, so I'm going to make a little bit of a lighter purple color here, and I picked up some white, and I'm going to add some purple, white, and aqua together, because I think that'll make a nice color.
Actually, that unit wasn't plugged in either,
Oh, no,
but now
Well,
it is.
we were skating on thin ice, as it were. How many more cliches can we use? We were cutting it close. All right, so I've just made like a light aqua purple color, which I think is a very pretty color. And I'm going to kind of give the illusion of a little bit of a twinkle here on the glass vase. And so in that area where I just stroked on some of that purple color that we talked about, covering from the front, covering across the back edge there, we're going to set our brush down and just going to give it a little sweep up of that kind of color. That's what I'm talking about, a little bit of a twinkle there. And then I could take some of this aqua color and do the same kind of thing here in the middle of the vase. Just scrub a little bit on with the corner of the brush. And again, dab a little bit on. Just giving a little bit of a glint there on the vase. Now we're not done because we've got to put stems in our vase, and we also have to establish a little bit of dark there. So let you get this much done on your glass. I know you all caught up while we were reconnecting our cameras, but I'm going to dry this pretty quickly. Okay, now we need to darken. Ooh, I got that pretty hot there. We need to darken the top of our vase where our flowers all get kind of shoved down into this glass vase. So I'm picking up a little bit of purple and a little bit of black on my brush. And here's what I'm going to do, and don't freak out because this is going to seem a little bit haphazard to everyone, but there's some method to my madness. I'm going to start over here on the left-hand side of my vase, and I'm scrubbing across, covering the top edge of the vase, just like that. Okay, now I did a fancy little maneuver there. I kind of put a little bit outside the corner of each edge of the vase up at the top, because nobody needs to know where the edge of that vase is. All right, so go ahead and get this bit of darkness in there, and we will begin to put our, we'll begin to put our flower shapes on there and some leaves. Okay, was reaching for a pencil and was glad I found one that actually has a point on it. All right, so I'm going to dry this super dark color here. All right, now what I'm going to do with my pencil is I'm going to give myself the very minimum of a roadmap of where I'm going to paint. So over here, I want some flowers that are going to come up about there, and they're going to be over there, and they're going to come down here. I'm going to have some more flowers that are going to come up this way and go over that way a little bit. And I'm going to have a bigger bunch of flowers coming up this way. And then I'm going to have some flowers going over here. All right, so let me show you exactly what that beautiful sketch looks like. So it is a bunch of little dotted lines kind of telling me where my flower forms are going. And we will then start with some green. So just give everybody another little chance to see that. And you can just kind of follow this from seeing what's in the photo. All right, now I'm going to put some green out on my palette. And this green is absolutely too bright for my painting to get started with anyway. So I need to mix this green with a little bit of purple and black. And I'm making a lovely dark green color. Purple, green, and black give you a great dark color. I want you to still be able to see that it is green. You could also use some sap green and black if you wanted to do that. Or if you have some thicket, you could use thicket plus black. But we're going to take this dark color and I am going to paint some very, very, very loosey-goosey leaf forms. So over here, I've got some greenery that's spilling out. So I'm going to scrub and kind of then dab, dab, dab. I know many of you have been waiting all year long to hear me say that. I'm going to have a little bit of
dab, dab, dab.
We love dab, dab, dab. Some of that green's coming right down across the front of the vase. And I'm going to have a little bit of this kind of coming over here, dab, dab, dab. Oh, and we need a little bit of green up here because we just ought to have some dab, dab, dab. All right, no more messing around than that. We have dabbed some green on and we are going to leave that alone. I'm going to pick up some more of my classic green color. So I want to lighten this up, but it's still pretty dark. And I'm going to put some stems into my vase. So I'm going to use the edge of my chisel brush, or the chisel edge of my brush. I'm not sure what description that was that came out of my mouth, but it wasn't what I meant to say. So we're putting these little stems in. Remember, we don't want a vase full of X's. So these little stems can cross over each other, but don't have a bunch of them just willy-nilly crisscrossing each other, because that'll start to look very strange. And no one wants strange things happening in their vase. All right, so I've got those stems in there. Let's put out some lime green, which is going to be very much of a wake-up call here for this painting. And I'm going to pick up some of this lime green. I just wipe my brush out. I didn't clean it out. And we're going to highlight some of our stems. where one stem crosses over another. I might need to wipe this out a little bit more because a little too much of that dark green's creeping in and I'm not getting a bright color on my brush. One of the joys of this kind of painting and this kind of flower is that it doesn't have to be all things to all people. It's, you know, some people, if you're painting a certain kind of flower, they expect it to be this, that, or the other. And this is not any particular flower. It's definitely not Wisteria, and it's definitely not lilacs or hydrangeas or anything else. It's just a pretty purple flower, and that's all it needs to be. You don't have to explain it to anybody. People who are looking at your painting ought to be smart enough to realize that there's some purple flowers in a vase. And beyond that, you owe them no other explanation. All right, I've put some yellow out on my palette, and I'm just mixing that in with my green, making it a lighter, brighter color. And we're going to highlight a little bit more on our stems till we get some really pretty bright highlights going on. And they'll show it.
I'm sorry, Andy, to interrupt you. What size brush have you switched to?
I'm still with my number 12 flat brush.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to use any brush smaller than a number 12 flat tonight.
It looked maybe smaller. I don't know. Okay.
Everybody's wishing it was smaller, but it's not. I always say, don't send a boy to do a man's job, which means don't use a brush that's too small for what you're painting. And I know some people would be saying, oh, I should get my liner brush out because I'm painting stems. No, use your number 12 flat brush. It's perfectly adequate. Now, I want my stem highlights to be a little brighter, so I'm adding a bit of white to this lime green and yellow mixture here on my palette. And here, I'm going to just add a little bit brighter highlight. I'm not doing it everywhere. But you can see that there's some stems in there and they've got some highlights going on. And that's all we need. Now, we're going to turn our attention back to our foliage. And I'm going to pick up some of my lime green and maybe just a little bit of my dark green because I don't want to start out too bright, but I'm going to hold my brush back again, put the tip of the handle in the palm of your hand and then grab the brush so it's held as far back as you can. And we are going to use kind of the corner of our brush and we're going to tap, tap, dab, dab a little bit of this lighter green color on. And right here in the front of my vase, tap, tap, dab, dab. I'm creating a lighter color green on there. Over here, we're going to get some lighter green on there and a little bit over here too, where we have the foliage on the right-hand side of our canvas. Yeah, it is our canvas. It's also our floral arrangement. Now I'm just picking up more of that lime green, making this brighter and brighter. Tap, 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 dab, dab, dab. Getting a little bit of this fun lime green color on there. Don't use too much paint on your brush. You want to dab this on, but you don't need to overdo it. This color will be bright, but you don't need a thick application of paint. I often think that people watch me do this and they think I've got a lot of paint on my brush, and I actually have much less than you think I do. And I'm just dabbing some fun little ends on this. All right, there is our foliage. Tap, 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 and dab, dab, dab.
Right on.
Okay, going to give you a moment to do that, and then we will be on to our flower forms. Thank you, Chris. This is, there's a whole lot less painting that's been done than most of you think there is. Any tips for somebody who's never used acrylics? I can't read the rest of that comment, John.
It just says who's never used acrylic paint.
Oh, get in there and play with it. That's the best advice I can give you. Don't act like it's going to be like oil paint. It's not. It's not like watercolor paint. It's its own thing, and the best way to appreciate it is just to play with it. And Margaret, the light's coming from wherever you imagine it to be. My shadow's going straight down, so my light would be coming in from the top, but that's way more worry than you need to give a little painting like this. Okay, what was that last question there, John?
It says,
after I paint the background.
yeah, it says after you paint the background, you cannot proceed till it's totally dry.
That's
Maybe
correct.
tomorrow, is that correct?
That's why we use our heat gun on it to just go ahead and dry it out quick.
Yeah, definitely, guys. One of the things that when you do a number of these classes, really with all of the teachers, I've noticed that they all tend to use a hair dryer or a heat gun, just because, sure, if you have unlimited time, you could just let it dry and come back to it later. But, you know, people want to keep going. So I recommend you have that for any class you take, is have that at the ready.
Yes. Okay. I'm at the ready now to paint my flower forms. All right. So once again, do not think I have more paint on my brush than I have. I'm picking up some of my dark purple color. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the corner of my brush. I'm going to set it down, and I'm going to begin to scrub, 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 just to kind of get a rough shape of where my flower form is going. All right. As that comes into focus, you can see I've not overdone the canvas with this paint. Could still see through the paint to the canvas. I'll pick up a little bit more purple, and I'm going to now scrub the purple down into my green so that there is a lost area. Where did we go? Oh, there we are. Okay. You could see right down here, I've just merged that dark green into my dark purple. So your eye just has to assume that there is just nothing but dark area there. So I'm using a little bit more paint here to get that dark purple to blend in with that dark green. And then I will simply scrub, 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 and get this going up there. And we'll scrub this color over here to this bit of our flowers. And we'll scrub over here, getting our flower form down there. What you don't want to do is to have one huge mass of solid dark purple on this canvas. Nobody wants that. I'm just scrubbing a little bit more on here, mainly in the center, just to give it some more body there. But it's still pretty sparse paint on there. All right, go ahead and do that. I'm not really twisting the brush, but I'm scrubbing the brush on the corner and just kind of moving my arm.
Scrub, scrub, scrub. A couple of folks have asked about Andy's palette, so we can just mention that. The palette, it's called palette paper basically, and it's really just sort of like wax paper, but it comes in a pad, and they have all different sizes, right, Andy? Mm-hmm. So he has a real big oversized pad. I
do, but the thing to remember is that it is not waxed paper. It is a wax coated paper. Wax paper will get very wrinkly and start to shred and tear on you. So this is a specially formulated wax coated palette that you can pick up at Michael's or your other craft stores. You can order them online, but you want to get a good wax coated palette. I like a big one. Some people like a smaller one, but that is up to you. All right. Yeah. Now, next thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to worry about drying this, but I am going to pick up this kind of lighter purple color I have here. And I'm going to, again, not use more paint than I need to, Again, not as much as you think I'm going to use. All right, Susan, we're going to hold this a little bit closer so hopefully you can see a little bit better. Scrubbing is kind of like scumbling, but scumbling is a much fancier term and much fancier than what I'm doing. I'm just kind of scrubbing. All right, I'm going
Wow,
to
I've never
begin.
heard of scumbling, so I'm learning something new today. And
That's a new art word for basically kind of rubbing paint on using the edge of your brush. All right, so I'm tapping and dabbing and doing a little bit of light scrubbing here to establish my flower form. And I'm tapping and scrubbing from one corner of the brush to the other corner. So watch, brush going down on this corner, flip it over, brush going down on that corner. And this is what you get, those kind of little violet dabs. All right, I'm going to move over to my next set of petals or flowers, and we're going to kind of do the same thing there. Tap, 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 dab, 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 corner, corner, corner. And we are creating loose flowers. I'm not stroking on a bunch of individual flower petals. Obviously, I'm moving much too fast to do that. But you can see that I've got it very, very loose at the edges. Those edges are not thick. There is zero texture to this. Okay, it's not impasto painting. I'm not putting on thick dabs of paint here. It's very, very flat, very small amounts of paint. I think a lot of people like to scoop up some paint on their brush and try to stroke on individual flower petals. And that is not what we're doing. Small amount of paint, and we are tapping and dabbing and scrubbing some little shapes of flowers on there, but it is not petal for petal trying to create some people would say, oh, it's a 4-petaled flower, it's a 5-petal flower. I don't know how many petals this is, because I'm definitely not counting and not trying to paint individual flowers. All right, so there's what we've got on there. Everybody understanding this in theory or in concept? Show John a thumbs up if you get it. John's not saying anything, so
I don't
maybe
know.
not.
Hold on, I was ill prepared. Let me see. Do we have thumbs up? People are too busy painting to be. There we go. I see some thumbs up now. All right.
Okay. I don't want to see a bunch of stroked on flower petals. I want to see little loose dabs of color that indicate that there's a flower happening there. All right, so we are now going to change color and start to build these flower forms a little bit more. I'm going to do that with, I'm going to take some of my purples. It doesn't matter what purples you want to use, because they're all gorgeous. And I'm going to add a little bit of white to this. And I want a nice light color, something lighter than what I had before. And again, I can take the excess paint off on my shop towel. And I wish everyone would start using shop towels, because they're so much better for you than your paper towels. They keep your hands cleaner, they keep your work area cleaner, and that makes me happy. All right, so we're going to begin to dab on some lighter areas. That seems like I've got, see how solid that is? That's a little too much paint on my brush. So I'm going to take a little bit off on my shop towel. And we're going to continue to, again, use the corners of the brush and dab, 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 tap, tap, tap. And we're just creating fun little flowerets, or the illusion of some flowers. And I'll move across. And I haven't been picking up more paint. Please notice that. Moving over here. Still no more paint, but I'm running out of paint now. So I've got to pick up a little bit of paint, and we'll come over here and we'll tap, 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 and dab, dab, dab. some flowers on, and we've got this little cluster of flowers going on up here. And it's so much easier and faster if you're not trying to paint individual flower petals, people. I'm telling you that, and it will save you so much heartache. All right, so that's what I've got so far. I've got 3 different layers of purple on there. And what I'm going to do now is a little bit of an interesting thing. I'm going to kind of cut into the painting a little bit. And what I mean is I'm going to bring some background. I'm going to paint some background on top of the painting, and it will make it look like there's less thick flower painting going on there. So I'm going to take some of this light aqua color and probably a little bit of white there. And I'm going to hope this looks pretty close to the background color. It's not blue enough, so I'm going to wipe my brush out. And notice that when I didn't like something, I stopped. I'm not just going to keep painting with that color, hoping that it gets better. I knew it wasn't right, so I needed to stop. I'm picking up some more of that light kind of aqua color. Oh, this is going to be much better. So in a few places, I'm bringing some of this light aqua in. And it is basically giving the illusion of some of the background that I've not painted over, even though I did paint over it. Just a nice way to kind of change up the shape of some flowers a little bit before we come in with our highlights. Okay, I think that's going to be good enough for now. And so what I'm going to do is wipe my brush out. And I'm going to make a really light purple color. So I could use any of the purples I had, plus more white. And again, don't need much paint. And we're going to start to do some little dabbies. Still a little bit too much paint on my brush. I'm taking some of the excess off, and we're tapping and dabbing some highlights on. And these are not going everywhere. I'm kind of being selective in where I put them. I got them on the top over here and on the left side of this little cluster of flowers. I'm going to put some over here, lightening up the side of this. Bring this little area of the arrangement forward. And again, it's tapping and dabbing. I am not stroking on flower petals. Maybe if you get nothing else out of this class tonight, you will learn that I am not stroking on individual flower petals. That is not the goal of this. We're giving the illusion of flower petals without painting them. Okay, I think that's good for light flowers. And now I'm going to wipe my brush. Oh, I just looked at it. It looks really good. Seeing it down, I was holding it up and it was a little too close to me. So I couldn't really see the flowers for the painting. Now that I've set it down and look at the monitor, it's pretty good. All right, so I'm going to pick up some more. I wiped my brush off really well. I'm picking up some white paint on my brush. I did not clean my brush in water. If you have noticed, I've not put my brush in water or asked you to do that a single time this evening. All right, so I'm going to take some of this white and make sure that I don't have too much on my brush. And we'll basically, I'm going to hold my brush pretty parallel to the surface, and I'm going to skim on some of this white paint, and I'm not putting it on very heavy. And every now and then I'll tap a little bit of this light highlight on. And Veronica's asking if I use an easel. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Something like this, it is easier to hold it in my hand so I can turn it around. And somebody was asking, John, if you can read that question
Yeah,
back.
why? So one of the questions is, why don't you clean your brush in water? Seems like it
Well,
would be cleaner.
Well, I don't need it to be cleaner. It doesn't bother me at all that there's color in my brush. In fact, if you look here on my palette, I've brush mixed a whole bunch of different colors, and everything is looking pretty good together. So I don't need to clean out. I don't have a discordant color on my palette. If I had picked up some orange or something on my brush and put some orange on here, then I would probably want to clean that out before I went back with something else, because the orange will dull and muddy my colors. But for right now, what I've got in my brush is all good to go. All right, so we're putting a little white highlighting on here. If you think all of your marks are looking repetitious or looking the same, turn your canvas or move your hand and make some marks in a different direction. Your canvas isn't locked into place. You can move it around while you're painting if you need to. All right, I think I'm pretty happy with the way those little flower clusters look. They're kind of a big clump of flowers, but you can kind of pick out individual little groups of those flowers. All right, we're going to do another fun thing before we do. Well, we got a bunch of fun stuff to do now. This is kind of like, you have to imagine yourself, this painting is now dressed to go to a party, but it's time to start accessorizing. She needs some jewelry. All right, so the first piece of jewelry we're going to give her is her statement necklace. So I'm picking up some white on my brush, a fair amount, and I'm loading just one side of the brush. And I'm sorry, we're at our hour mark, so we're now on Andy time. It's not going to take that much longer, but we do have a few things to do. So I'm going to set my brush down, and this is, I'm going to try to give you a very important lesson. I'm going to set my brush down flat, parallel to the surface, and I'm going to flick my brush downward. I'm not trying to paint anything. I'm going to make a mark of light color that's going to start on the vase here and go just like that. Put it on there, pull it on there, and then you have to leave it alone, okay? So her statement necklace is on, and now we just need to put a few other little accessories on. So I'm going to take some of my light aqua color, and I'm going to do the same thing, although with less paint and less pressure on the brush. And I'm going to create a little bit of a light highlight over here. So I'm just going to set the brush down, touch and pull. That wasn't very pretty. I'm going to do it again until it is pretty, because, you know, do as I say, not as I do. There, well, all right, now I just have to mess with this because it's not straight either. Okay, now that's another little highlight mark on there. And I can take the same light aqua on my brush, and I'm going to use the corner of my brush and put it on the corner of the vase and give it a flick up to create a light aqua glint there. See that little glint going on? And I can then tap a little bit of this aqua color just to create some interest here at the bottom edge of the vase. See those little aqua marks there? Okay, now we have one more thing to do. We've got to put some stuff, and that's exactly what I'm calling it. We've got to put some stuff to give the illusion of a table. All right, so I'm going to put my stuff on with my flexible metal palette knife. And the first thing I'm going to do is take some of this aqua color. kind of this medium aqua color, and I am going to add a little tiny bit of purple to it because I don't want it to be so aqua. All right, so tapping and patting to load my palette knife, and then I'm going to set the brush, the brush.
Andy, can you
everything-
bump your hands just a little farther away from you? Well, you know, yeah, there you go. More up into the center, if you can.
Yeah, I can. So I'm going to do this and hopefully get this on here straight. Now, my palette knife is a triangle, so I'm going to have to turn it so that the edge of the palette knife is perpendicular to the edge of my canvas. And I'm going to set the palette knife down and give it a bit of a stroke. All right, it's taking a little while to get this on there. Better to have to do it a couple of times than to overdo it. But I'm creating a little bit of a line here and then a little flicker of color that comes down. All right, you see that? That's giving me the illusion of a bit of a table going on. So let's take some purple and pick up some purple with our aqua here. And a little white to lighten that up. I want to create a lighter purple color. And for some reason, I'm lightening this with that light aqua color. All these colors are in the painting, and we need them to kind of accent what's going on here in our table area. So purpley aqua color, loading that up on my palette knife. I want to clean my palette knife off and load my palette knife up with this beautiful purpley aqua color. And we are going to come across this area. Remember where I told you we were going to cover up some of that vase, or not the vase, but some of our shadow and break this line? Here's where that happens. All right, I want to pick up more of that aqua color. Okay, I just cleaned up the top of that with a little bit of a line. The paint just pulled right off the edge of my palette knife. And I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to do one more little thing, and we will call this complete. All right. I'm going to take this light aqua color without purple in it this time. Load my palette knife by tapping it on the palette. And I'm going to put a little bit of another highlight here. See, we just highlighted that on there. And I'm going to do a little bit of it right here, kind of in this transition.
Scooch up for us, Andy. Can't see it.
I'm sorry.
Yep, there we go.
Just trying to put it where I could see what I was doing.
Yeah, we'll show a close up here in a second, as soon as he's done.
Yeah, not like I need to see what I'm doing. All right, so there we go. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm turning it the wrong way.
Yep, there we go.
All right, so you could see some of that just kind of breaking this area up. And I told you we weren't going to see all of that background once we were done, and we are not. And I just can't stand not putting a little bit of this light color right here in front. All right, that made me much happier there. And it's all about making me happy at this point. And this is where you can spend way too much time putzing and playing with your painting. Oh, that looks good. Just getting some color on there. All right, so I really am going to stop playing with this, I promise you. All right, so here we have our very Perry floral.
Awesome. It looks great.
I think everybody will have a beautiful painting. And they just, again, let me just take a moment here and recap some of the important things to remember. Doesn't matter if you have brush strokes in your background, that's fine. We're not really concerned about painting a realistic glass vase. We want a glass vase that anyone who's looking at your painting will go, that vase looks really cool. I love that vase. They know what it is. You don't have to beat your viewer over the head with every little detail. They know what it is. They know it's a vase of flowers. You don't have to be any more, don't have to explain any more than that. And there is no texture on this painting. Everything is flat, flat, flat. If you start to have big, thick ridges of paint, you're using way too much paint on your brush or your palette knife. Even all of this is completely flat. There's no texture. Okay, I know we're over time and we really should say goodbye. I just wanted everybody to get one last look.
Oh, we got to show next week's painting too. Don't forget.
Oh, yes, we do. Let's go to the front view and we will show you what we're doing next Monday evening in the Michaels Community Classroom. It is a beautiful painting. Love is in the air. This is our little snow person that Chris Williams has done. So she will be teaching this January 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you will love painting with Chris and love doing this little adorable snow person. Remember, love is in the air, January 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I want to encourage you to post your pictures to social media using hashtag #MakeItWithMichaels, Plaid Crafts. And if you want to share this in the Let's Paint with Plaid Facebook group, please join or post it there and use the hashtag Let's Paint Challenge. No apostrophe, no spaces in the words. Okay, John, I think this is it.
I think it's a wrap.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll look forward to being with you again next week.
Bye, everyone.